In our village, it is said that a woman's strength is in her hands and her heart. Amaka was the living proof of this saying. Every day, from the first light of dawn, she was on her feet, working tirelessly. If she wasn't at the market selling her goods, she was at home preparing meals for Ekene or tending to the small patch of land behind their house where she grew vegetables. It wasn't easy, but Amaka never complained. She believed in the old ways, the ways that taught a woman to endure, to be strong, and to never give up. But Ekene was a different story. He was a man who had once been full of promise. When they first married, everyone in the village had said how lucky Amaka was to have such a fine husband. He was tall, strong, and charming, with a smile that could light up the darkest night. But as the years went by, Ekene changed. He became lazy, indifferent, and selfish. He took Amaka's efforts for granted. He was never ready to help. Instead, he spent his days wandering the village, talking with other men, and only returning home when he was hungry. One evening, Amaka sat on the wooden bench outside their house, staring at the distant hill. Her hands were sore from the day's work, and her heart felt heavy with the burden of her husband's neglect. She had just returned from the market where she had managed to sell only half of the firewood she had collected. As she sat there, lost in thought, Ekene appeared. His face was twisted in annoyance. "Amaka, where is my food?" he demanded. His voice was so sharp. Amaka looked up at him with her teary eyes. "The soup is almost ready," she said quietly. "I just need a few more minutes." But Ekene was not satisfied. He muttered under his breath and stormed into the house, leaving Amaka alone once more. As she stirred the pot of soup over the fire, she couldn't help but wonder how long she would continue like this. She loved Ekene, but love alone could not fill the emptiness that had grown between them. She had tried everything to make him happy, but nothing seemed to work. And worst of all, Ekene didn't seem to care. That night, as Amaka lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, she made a decision. She could no longer continue to be the only one fighting for their marriage. If Ekene refused to change, she would have to find a way to change things herself. The next morning, Amaka rose before the sun as she always did. But today was different. Today she felt a spark of hope that she hasn't felt in a long time. She didn't know where it had come from, but she clung to it like a lifetime. After preparing Ekene's breakfast and leaving it on the table, she set off for the marketplace with a bundle of firewood. The marketplace was already bustling with activities when she arrived. Women were setting up their stalls, selling different things from fresh vegetables to palm oil to fish and everything you could think of. It was a familiar scene, one that Amaka had seen 1,000 times before. But today, as she walked through the marketplace, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. As she set up her small stall, a shadow fell across her. She looked up to see an old man standing before her. The man was dressed in simple clothes, his face lined with age and wisdom. His eyes were sharp and bright, full of kindness. "Good morning, my daughter," the old man said. His voice was so gentle. "Good morning, Baba," Amaka replied, bowing her head in respect. "How may I help you?" The old man smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "It is not I who need help, my child. It is you." Amaka, puzzled by this man's words. "I don't understand, Baba." The man looked around the marketplace, then looked back at Amaka. "I have seen you here many times, struggling to sell your firewood and other goods. You work hard, yet your burden only seems to grow heavier. Why is that?" Amaka hesitated, unsure of how to respond. She had never spoken of her troubles to anyone, not even to her closest friends. But there was something about this old man, something that made her feel safe, as if she could tell him anything. "My husband, Ekene," she began slowly. "He used to be a good man, but now he does nothing. He leaves all the work to me. He is never providing. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this." The old man nodded and he said, "A woman's strength is great, but even the strongest tree can be bent by the wind if it is not supported. You have done well, my daughter, but it is time for you to receive the help you deserve." With that, he reached into his robe and pulled out a small leather pouch. He handed it to Amaka, who took it with trembling hands. "What is this, Baba?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is a blessing," the old man said. "Use it wisely, and the gods will guide you." Before Amaka could say another word, the old man turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving her standing there holding the pouch. When she opened it, she gasped. Inside was more money than she had ever seen in her life, enough to start a real business to make a better life for herself. That evening, Amaka returned home with a heart full of hope. She had already begun to make plans that would change everything. But first, she needed to find the courage to take the next step. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. With the money the old man had given her, Amaka started a new business, selling palm oil and dried fish. She no longer had to struggle to make ends meet. Her business grew quickly, and soon she was earning more than enough to support herself. But despite her success, there was one thing she could not ignore: the growing distance between her and her husband, Ekene. Ekene, of course, noticed the changes in Amaka. He saw how she no longer relied on him, how she carried herself with a newfound confidence. But instead of supporting her, he grew resentful. He accused her of neglecting her duties as a wife, of putting her business before their marriage. Yet, he still made no effort to change his own ways. One evening, after another argument with Ekene, Amaka made a decision. She could not continue like this, not when she knew she deserved better. So she packed a small bag and left their home, leaving a note behind. When Ekene returned that night, he found the note on the table, and the note read, "I have tried my best to make this marriage work, but I can no longer do it alone. I need time to find myself, to understand what I truly want. Perhaps in my absence, you will realize what you have lost. I hope that when we meet again, we can start anew." At first, Ekene was angry. How dare she leave me? But as days turned into weeks and the silence of the empty house pressed down on him, his anger slowly turned to regret. He began to realize just how much Amaka had done for him and how much he has taken her for granted. And for the first time in years, Ekene felt truly alone. As the week passed, Ekene found himself struggling to cope with the emptiness that filled his day. He had never realized how much he relied on Amaka until she was gone. There was no more hot meals waiting for him when he returned. No more warm, comforting presence beside him at night. He tried to fill the void by spending more times with his friends, but even their company could not heal the ache in his heart. Every corner of the house reminded him of her, of the love he had taken for granted, and the woman he had treated so poorly. One day, as he sat alone in their small house, Ekene finally admitted the truth to himself. He has been very wrong. He has allowed his pride and laziness to blind him to the treasure he had in Amaka. And now, he feared it was too late to make things right. But Ekene was not a man who gave up easily. He knew that if he wanted to win Amaka back, he would have to prove to her that he had changed. He would have to show her that he was truly sorry for the way he had treated her. And so, Ekene began to plan. He started by sending her small gifts: a new cooking pot, a bag of rice, some beautiful clothes for her dresses. He didn't sign his name, but he knew Amaka would recognize the gesture. Then one day, he gathered his courage and went to see her. He found her at her new business, bustling around the marketplace, surrounded by customers. She looked happy, confident, and more beautiful than ever. His heart ached as he watched her, realizing just how much he had lost. But Ekene was determined. He approached her with humility. His eyes were full with regret. "Amaka," he said softly, "I have been a fool. I took you for granted, and I see how much you mean to me. Please forgive me, and let us start again." Amaka looked at him for a long time. Her expression was unreadable, but she could see the sincerity in his eyes. She was cautious because she had worked hard to build a new life, and she didn't want to lose herself again. "Ekene," she said finally, "I forgive you. But if we are to start again, things must be different. You must respect me. You must support me and treat me as your equal. I will not go back to the way things were." Ekene nodded. His heart was swelling with hope. "I promise you, Amaka, I will be a better husband. I will never take you for granted again." And so, they began again slowly and carefully. Ekene kept his promise, showing Amaka through his actions that he had truly changed. He helped her with her business. He treated her with the love and respect she deserved. And in time, the wounds of the past began to heal, and their love grew stronger than ever. They built a new life together, one based on mutual respect and understanding. And the village, which had once whispered about their troubles, now spoke of their happiness. Amaka and Ekene lived the rest of their days in harmony. Their love was a shining example to all who knew them. And whenever anyone asked Amaka how she has found the strength to change her life, she would smile and say, "Sometimes you must lose something to truly understand its worth. But when you find it again, you hold onto it with all your heart." So, you see, love is like palm oil. It may seem simple, but it is the very thing that makes life rich and full of flavor. Without it, everything is dry and tasteless, and sometimes you must lose it to truly understand its worth. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like our video, share with families and friends, comment the lesson you have learned, and please do not forget to subscribe. Turn on your post notification bell for more exciting stories from us. Bye bye.